Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast. I'm your host here on a Monday, Nate Weitzer, joined by Midwest Mo out there in Omaha. Josh Lander still traveling for work, so you will see him back on here tomorrow. But as always, we're bringing you the full slate of games here on a Monday night, picking out three of our best bets to talk about. Plenty of written content up on thelines.com from Mo, myself, and others as well. If you need any talk about MLB futures as we round down here into almost the last week of the season. Again, we will continue to bring you every single slate that has full night games here on a weekday. And if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your local area, such as what we have here on the Monday. Skipping over that White Sox game in the afternoon, we got Reds plus 205 at the Phillies, who are throwing Noah Syndergaard. The Braves are minus 200 at the Pirates. Jake Odorizzi for Atlanta, Rowan Z. Contreras for Pittsburgh. Max Scherzer and the Mets are minus 164 against Domingo Germán and the struggling Yankees. We're going to touch on that game for sure. Rangers plus 180 at the Twins. Sonny Gray going for Minnesota. They are minus 215 at home. Angels plus 180 at the Rays. It's Jeffrey Springs for Tampa, and they are minus 215 at home. Then we got the Cards riding that 7-game win streak, minus 165 at the Cubs, who have been surprisingly hot lately. It's Drew Smyly versus Jordan Montgomery for St. Louis there. Been a great acquisition for them. And then the Marlins, did they switch their pitcher again, Mo? It looks like Pablo Lopez now is the starter, not Eduardo Cabrera.
It was originally Lopez, then it changed to Cabrera.
And now we're back at Lopez on FanDuel Sportsbook. So we will – I mean, the line is not changing even when FanDuel split.
I tried to look.
Yeah.
I looked at multiple beat writers. The only thing I could find was one guy who said it's going to be Cabrera. So right now I'm going under the assumption that it's Cabrera.
All right. Well, yeah, we are going to talk about that game, so we can talk about it on FanDuel. It's minus 140 for Miami. Both potentialities. Right now the line is not changing based on that switch. Adam Oler going for the host Athletics there, who might have the worst home record in baseball ever this season. So either way, solid bet. And then finally, we got the Brewers plus 220 at the Dodgers. Julio Urias against Eric Lauer there out at Chavez Ravine. So, I mean, we do know Max Scherzer is going for the Mets as they go here in the Subway Series against the Yankees. I think this is a massive pitching mismatch. Domingo Germán is just meh, just not a particularly inspiring pitcher. He throws a lot of fastballs. The Mets are very good against the fastball. Scherzer, lights out as always. He went 6 strong in his last start against the Braves, then ran into a little bit of trouble. But I think that right now we wouldn't think this at all in the first half of the season. But right now that Yankees lineup is way, way less dangerous than Atlanta, which has basically been the second best team since the start of June in all of baseball. They are loaded. I mean, the Yankees are going to be without Josh Donaldson right now. We don't know how healthy Anthony Rizzo's been with that back issue. Matt Carpenter out, no table setting there. Rizzo being the key guy because that's kind of the profile hitter that gets to Scherzer, a lefty with a good uppercut swing, be able to time that up and use the short porch at Yankee Stadium. But, I mean, just nothing going well for the Yanks lately. They actually have the 7th worst record in baseball since the start of July. Aaron Boone can't seem to figure anything out. Frustration throughout the clubhouse, throughout the lineup. And yeah, I mean, to get Scherzer at minus 150, minus 160 in this spot seems like stealing a little bit. I mean, especially because the Yankees even got a win yesterday, less of a them being due to finally get one here. I think the Mets are in a great spot based on the pitching matchup, just for starters, and then also the strength of their lineup after they got a nice late inning rally on Sunday to pull out their win.
Vintage Scherzer season. I mean, it's been amazing how good he's been. I mean, Sierra is his best since 2018. His FIP is the best it's been since 2019, and he's getting more chases than any season since 2019. It's been just a tremendous showing from him, and even added one more trick to his book this year. Big increase in the amount of pop-ups he's getting. 14.9%. That's his most since 2018. And it seems like it's definitely a thing because his launch angle went up 4 degrees, which it was really consistent in the years before this one. So he's definitely like either targeting the top of the zone more, getting more ride on his heater, some combination of these things, but it's working for him. It's an interesting matchup though, because Yankees best offense in baseball against right-handed sliders. But when I'm looking at their lineup, yeah, we've talked a lot about how you need strong lefties to combat Scherzer, and they don't have a lot of them. One of theirs is going to be Oswaldo Cabrera, this prospect. He has a -3 WRC plus so far. He's just struggling to acclimate to the majors, pretty normal. Just wouldn't expect anything too great from him right now. Aaron Hicks, he's hits much better from the right side. So, yeah, and I mean, Benintendi and Rizzo, they're solid, not really scaring you. It doesn't look like they match up super well with Scherzer, even though, like I said, that they do have those numbers against sliders. And yeah, Domingo Germán, he's just pretty bad. I just think he's like a below average arm. Looks like probably about a 4.5 ERA type of pitcher. And yeah, like you said, the Yankees bats, man, ice cold. You just cannot ever imagine looking past 30 days they've been below average, and then past 14 they're a bottom 5 offense. So shocking fall from them. I don't know what to really expect going forward. I definitely did think they were overperforming early in the season. I guess another huge concern is just, man, these Yankees bullpen injuries are just piling up. We've talked about how Holmes and King are out. Also, Castro's out. Chad Green's been out for most of the season. And now even Scott Efros, the guy they traded for from the Cubs, he's also out. And I think he was closing some of the games with these injuries. So Mets probably have a pretty big bullpen edge here, which you would not have been able to say a month ago.
Yeah, and still no Zach Britton for the Yanks either, but some of those guys getting closer to returning. They still have that hefty lead in the AL East, so probably will still be in good shape by the time the playoffs roll around, but we're just betting one game here tonight. Speaking of playoffs, the Cardinals, as I said, doing what they do at the end of the season, just going on an absolute tear. Even with the new manager, it's the same story as we saw at the end of last summer. They've won 7 straight here. Cubs have been surprisingly hot, 11 of their last 16. But I think that there's a good spot here for the Cards, to say the least, against Drew Smyly, who's been pretty good lately, been very aggressive, though, 70% first strike rate this season, heavily featuring that fastball, that cutter. It's not really going to spell well against a Cardinals offense that is the best in the majors against lefties. Talked about it ad nauseum. I mean, with Goldschmidt and Arenado leading the charge there. And the Cubs, while they've been better lately, still not hitting lefties very well. They're 218 since the break against the platoon there. On the season, 23rd in average, 20th in weighted runs created plus. And Jordan Montgomery, I mean, like I said, after his debut with the Cardinals, this coaching staff, this organization, they just know how to turn a decent pitcher into a great pitcher or just an ultra reliable guy. And that's what Montgomery is. And in 3 starts now with them, 3-0, 1 run allowed, 0.9 whip, 17 Ks, 3 walks. So going up against this Cubs offense, you got to figure he'll keep it reasonably low. And then Smyly, if he does get into trouble, he's allowing an alarming amount of hard contact in high leverage situations. So I think the Cardinals could knock him out early, put up plenty of runs. I think at -160, they're another good value here on this Monday slate.
Yeah, those numbers will play for Montgomery. For this one, I don't really think it's worth a bet just because I have it as like a pretty fair line. I had the Cards -160, so that's right about where they're at. Drew Smyly's been pretty solid, like you said. I have him as about a roughly average arm. His contact management has been great this year. Sub 86 mile per hour average exit velocity. That's pretty much elite. I just love this Cardinals lineup against lefties, though. their switch hitters, Carlson and Edman, both have like pretty big splits, especially Carlson, way better hitting right-handed. We've talked about Goldie, Arenado, O'Neill, all those guys hit lefties pretty good. And then, man, Albert Pujols has a 225 WRC plus against lefties this year. He's absolutely on fire right now, and he can still hit lefties, man. I mean, he's definitely still got that. So, yeah, it's just a really strong lineup against lefties. And I also don't like that the Cubs seem to give Wilson Contreras a lot of days off. So he's probably their best hitter. So that really hurts their offense. I don't know if he's going to play or not today, but just something to keep an eye out for. Yeah, I had this as pretty neutral, but I could see why somebody would want to bet the Cards because they're just so strong against lefties.
Yeah, I mean, and just so strong all around compared to that rebuilding Cubs team. And then we get to the Marlins and A's, and I mean, we think in the rotation, Cabrera pitched last Tuesday. I think it's going to be Cabrera because he would otherwise, Pablo Lopez would be hopping Tuesday. Pablo Lopez on Wednesday. Both only went about 4 innings. Lopez got shelled by the Padres. Cabrera pitched well. He's now gone 3 straight starts without giving up a run. 15 Ks in that span. Still struggling with the walks a little bit. Is the young gun, but his slider rates extremely well. That's his best pitch. And we've got an athletics team here that has the worst rating in the majors by far against sliders. He is managing contact and getting out of trouble when he does walk guys. He's got a 90% strand rate in his 6 starts this year. Cabrera, 60% ground ball rate, 4% barrel rate. And the A's, when you look at Oler, he's got a 32% ground ball rate. And you'd say, oh, well, he should be able to manage fly balls in big Oakland Coliseum. Nope. 2.5 home run per 9 ratio at home. 7.4 FIP there. Does not get many chases. Does not get many swinging strikes. I don't know what there is to like about Adam Oler if you are looking to bet the A's here. But I guess you're concerned about the Cabrera blow up if he is the guy tonight. I don't necessarily see that as likely against this particular lineup. I mean, I saw he blew up against the Astros a few starts again, but I mean, I think with his level of talent and the A's lineup being the opposition here, I'm going to trust that and fire at minus 140 as long as he's the starter.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be Cabrera, but I'll say if it's not, and you can bet no pitchers listed, it might be just good to take a shot on the fish in case Lopez pitches, I guess. But I don't think he's gonna. But if he does, this is tremendous value. I gave this out as a play in the Discord yesterday, but not gonna be a play most likely now. I think the new line is, or I think the line is pretty fair with Cabrera in there. I was wondering basically about the over or like even Marlins team total over here. Adam Oller has been unbelievably bad. 6.63 ERA, 6.36 FIP, 6.04 xFIP. StatCast says he's only been slightly unlucky. They tag him for a 5.8 xERA. BABIP and home run per fly ball normal. So not really the victim of any bad luck that I can see either. I think when you're walking almost 5 per 9 at AAA, that's obviously a huge red flag. And then 21.4% called strike plus whiff rate. It just doesn't get too much lower than that. So I think with the Marlins offense, I've been fading this team nonstop basically for a month, but they're starting to get some of their guys back into the lineup. John Birdie's back. Jesus Aguilar came back, and Brian Anderson came back. So just getting like some professional hitters in there, I think is big. I think over 3.5. I'm seeing like some minus 125 type lines there. That seems like it might be worth a look. I think if you want to bet a side here, either way, I like taking an alternate or a run line or something where you're like, you have basically some room for a blow up or a huge game from Edward Cabrera because he has tremendous talent, misses a ton of bats. But if you just stand there and don't swing, you're probably going to be fine. So what that ends up happening is just basically a lot of variance either way. for him. It should be a good matchup for him. Oakland has the third lowest walk rate, so I don't really trust them to score on him. But if they do, it's definitely possible he gives up like 6 runs here. So just not a spot I'm super interested in betting now that it's not Lopez, but if it was, I'd be thrilled to get them at like around -140.
Yeah, well, you've been fading the Marlins for good reason because you look at their last 4 series: Phillies, Braves, Padres, Dodgers. Not surprising that they've lost 10 of their last 13 there. Now they get the A's, who, as I mentioned off the top, might have the worst home record in MLB history as they're completely rebuilding. So this is a good spot for them to turn it around and maybe find some offense after a bunch of weeks off. But that is all the time we have here for you in this one. Like and subscribe to the page. We will be back every single weeknight bringing you a full slate of games starting with Tuesday. And until we see you next, happy betting.